Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of Daily English Premier League here at GSPN. I am your co-host, Michał Czarniecki, based right here in California from Łódź, Poland. Why am I saying co-host? Because that was such a big match day for Champions League that it begs for co-hosting. And lo and behold, Louis Easton of Liverpool is joining us here. Joining us right now. Sorry, geez, I'm so excited that I'm just my tongue is just twisting up.
That was a great save. Yeah, thank you very much. And we've got a lot to pack into today's episodes, and we've got someone from every single club in the Champions League. So I'm Louis. I'm going to be representing Liverpool. We've got Josh Vince of Arsenal. How are you doing, Josh?
I am relieved and thankful that something is finally going right in the Gunners' camp. It feels good to be in the victory.
I mean, that was a hard-fought match. We'll definitely get into it later. Nathan making his debut on the English Premier League podcast all the way from Hawaii. How are you doing, Nathan? And I think you'll probably be quite relieved after that match as well.
Yeah, I'm more relieved than Josh that he's qualified because we were so close in 8th position in the end. But Celtic gave us a run, but I'm definitely relieved from the way that we played. So yeah, I'll take
just about scraping top 8 as well.
Yes.
And finally, Jules from Man City, who, I mean, all of us will probably be quite relieved, other than me. Jules from Man City.
I'd like to wager that I'm perhaps the most relieved after that crazy Champions League season. But yeah,
it's become a debate.
Happy to be here, and can't wait to get stuck into all the English teams being successful ultimately.
And surprise, surprise, Jules, you're up first because we are about to discuss the City game first. So my question, a little bit provocative, but let's see how you're going to take it. Exactly how much medication for your heart condition did you have to take because of that game?
More than I'd be willing to share publicly, I think.
Okay, I'm not trying to
condition.
It's an open secret in the GSPN world that Jules has a very, very serious condition.
Yeah, it's called Guardiola. It's called Guardiola, like touching his head and basically being, what the hell is happening? That's the kind of condition I meant. Hey, we're in high spirits. I love it. So, okay, but in all seriousness now, what were you thinking after those first 45 minutes, and especially after this conceded goal?
Normally, I would be thinking the worst, especially after the last couple of months. But honestly, and I'm not just saying this after the fact, I put into the GSPN Man City group chat, I still fully believe City were going to win. I had a feeling, yes, it was only at home to Club Brugge. I know it's not. There will be tougher tests, much like the playoffs. But Club Brugge have had a really good campaign themselves. You know, They've beaten Sturm Graz, Aston Villa, as Nathan knows, and Sporting this year, and Sporting hammered City, so we know how good they are. So they were a tough test. They defended well, and they were a threat on the counter. But the second half, everything was completely different. Foden moved into the middle. Thankfully, Savinho come on to the left, and both of them tore Bruges apart, really. Got the equaliser and then stayed on top throughout the end. A little stat that was on the broadcast too. City kept the ball for the final 10 minutes of the match, but without Bruges touching it. I don't think I've ever seen that in my life. 10 minutes with Bruges not touching the ball in open play.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's
crazy.
absurd.
That is how you shut a game down. And that is what City have not been doing, especially in the Champions League. I mean, that Feyenoord game, that was when I took all the medication. But yeah, it was a great second half performance. I thought it was the best collectively the team had played in a while. The first half was one of the worst, I'd say. Mm-hmm. Nothing was really going right, but very, very relieved and good to see City winning again.
And exactly how crucial was Savinho's introduction to the game by Guardiola? Because for me, that was like a real game changer. And to be honest, I was a little bit surprised that some of the websites would rate Savinho's performance like quite low, only like 6.9 out of 10. That is super underrated, considering the fact that he actually brought some new life into the game, right?
Yeah, definitely. He's someone that regularly loses the ball because he's always trying things. He's tries to make things happen in the final third. That was why he's in the team, and that can lend to a low SOFA score rating or whatever if you lose the ball multiple times. But anyone with eyes can see how dangerous he is, how creative he is, and like you say, you've seen it. He changed the game. He often does. He often does when he plays for City. And for a 20-year-old, I don't think you can ask much more. From his start at City, maybe some more goals because he hasn't got many, but there's a certain Norwegian in the team who normally takes care of that anyway. But yes, Savinho for Gundogan was the game changer, absolutely. Gundogan or Kovacic with the options to come off at half time to go a bit more attacking, and Gundogan was the inevitable call. He struggled a lot in his second stint at City, doesn't look quite the same player. And Kovacic ended up getting the equaliser, so turned out to be a bit of a masterstroke from the bald maestro yet again.
Might I ask very briefly, sort of in the words of the great Jamie Carragher, has the football left Gundogan?
Yeah, I think it has. I think it has.
I want to say no because I'm biased, but also, he's still getting in the right positions. He's still doing all the right things, but his execution is off. For me, normally when you get older, it's the players on in the right positions at the right time because the physicality is not there to allow that. But Gundogan's still on the end of chances. He's still finding space all the time. It's just like his on-the-ball ability has declined, which you'd never would have thought for someone whose on-the-ball ability is what's carried him to such an illustrious career. But yeah, he does. I would be surprised if he ever got back to his best, but I'm not willing to entirely write him off just yet.
Can I also
that man
say
caused me the biggest heartbreak in my entire time watching football, by the way. People think it's the Gerrard slip. No, it's that Villa match where he scored and turned it around from 2-0 down.
I was literally just about to say that.
And those moments are why he will forever be a legend at Man City. And even if he isn't the same player, he's still welcomed with open arms at the Etihad because that Villa game where he pretty much single-handedly was a big part of how City ended up with the title that year. And then he got the winner against Man United in the FA Cup as well. So yeah, what a legend.
Firing shots at all of us. Well,
I'm clean so far.
Wait, just wait until we get to you.
I don't think he'll score against you on the weekend, Josh, to be fair.
He will now you said that.
Jules, just one question about, like, of course, those comments after once the game was finished, that Manchester City could be one of the contenders for the final success of the Champions League. Well, I would just love to hear your take on that, because looking at the stats from the first half, of course, I might be a little bit biased. I'm a Man United fan, so obviously I will just try everything in my power to put some salt on there. But still, just looking realistically on it, with such stats from the first half, when Club Brugge has gave you such a hard time during those first 45 minutes, is it really appropriate to say that Man City are still major contenders?
I'll answer this in a few different parts. Firstly, City are still doing much better in the Champions League than United are. That's for sure.
Hey, I'm not even offended because it's true. I'm not even offended because it's true. I mean, getting those shots coming.
Secondly, I would say I don't think Club Brugge give City loads of problems. I think they sat 11 men behind the ball and counted and looked dangerous 3 or 4 times. But they did look dangerous. I won't take that away. But I wouldn't say they were the better team or anything. In the second half, until City equalised, they actually looked more dangerous, I thought. But then City got the goal and took control of the game. I've actually forgotten what you did ask now. I'm all riled up about United.
Can you win?
Oh yeah. So the actual answer to the question, there's two ways to look at it, right? City obviously not the same team this year, so teams will fancy going up against them. However, they are still Man City. They still have Erling Haaland, Kevin De Bruyne, Savinho, who everyone loves as well, Phil Foden, who's back in form, and everyone that's been injured, bar Rodri, is coming back. So the signs are good. And City obviously have pedigree in this tournament after the last after winning the treble. Until this season, City hadn't lost a game in the Champions League and since 2022, losing to Real Madrid on penalties last year. So no one will want City in this playoff round. However, if you're Real Madrid or Bayern Munich, who City are going to play, they'll probably both start as favourites, I'd imagine. But City can win a Champions League, yes.
I have
That's
a feeling that once you meet, like if you somehow, by some miracle, go through those knockout stages, if by some miracle you, if by some miracle you meet Liverpool there, I think Louis will agree with me that Liverpool will be the favorite. That's just my honest opinion.
Really?
We're probably the favourites, but I'm never going to go out on a limb and say we're going to win even any match, not just the Champions League final. My word. But I do think it's fair to say Liverpool are favourites. I mean, we saw the final table of the Champions League, 2 points clear. And, we did lose to PSV, but it was our children playing, bar a couple. Cody Gakpo, it was a big emotional day for him, scoring from the penalty and getting a massive round of applause when he went off. He's been probably the best left winger in the Premier League this season. I don't think that it's too much of a controversial take to say that, but I mean, let's just keep the momentum going with our first team, and we'll see where we get.
I think if Real Madrid do face City in the next round and they win, I would have Real Madrid as favourites in the knockout stages, but I can't argue with the quality of Liverpool this season. If they're not favourites, they're going to be there or thereabouts, aren't they? They made a mockery of the Prem this year and of the Champions League, so hopefully the honest slot train slows down sometime soon.
Are we all writing Brest off already? Come on. The surprise package.
I hate to just immediately get rid of Brest, but this is where we are. They got PSG in the next. They might have PSG in the next round, and I don't fancy any Brest side against that, no matter how big they are.
Okay.
Would you like to add something, Josh?
Do we add something? No. Let's not go too far into.
We're falling down the CNN hole.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. CBS.
Yeah, that's the one.
So that was a discussion about Manchester City. Well, wishing Jules all the best, further, in the knockout stages. And now we're moving on to Villa. But before, let's move on to some ads.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out as the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the description to learn more about Zencastr.
Wow, what a voice that man has. Anyway, so we'll move on to... Thank you. We'll move on to the Aston Villa match. Now, there's been plenty of talk about Aston Villa on and off the pitch today. We'll start with on the pitch, Nathan. Morgan Rogers. One word to describe him?
Magnificent.
I mean, a hat-trick for him. There was so much talk about him as well last time out in the Champions League when Buendia started on the left and Morgan Rogers wasn't on the left. He started in the middle. Jacob Ramsey was on the left. And, I mean, it was just an incredible showing from him. He stole all of the attention, didn't he?
Yeah, I thought he was just a handful throughout the entire match. The way he's able to manipulate the ball and just hold the ball under pressure and burst away and just seemingly go past players is just a joy to behold. Like any team would want to have that in their midfield. And we just rattled Celtic from first 10 minutes. They just didn't know how to deal with him. He was ghosting into the box. Ramsey, I don't feel like he gets enough credit for what he actually brings to the team. Again, another strong runner with the ball. He bursts down the left, and then Rodgers in that cam position. He's able to find those late runs into the box, and that was his first finish. And then the second one with a quick 1-2 with Watkins, he was able to get his shot away just on the right side of the 18, with a slight deflection, but another great goal to beat Schmeichel, who I actually think had a pretty good game. But yeah, I think Rodgers is just a standout player this entire season, and you see when Guardiola is talking to him after one of the games, he's probably saying, "Oh, we wanted to keep you and Palmer and a few other players we've let go of." So I'm sure he's pretty disappointed to lose a player of his caliber. Um, I mean, we only brought him in for 8 million from Middlesbrough, so that just shows how well we've recruited a player of that.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a
Emery's a
brilliant.
quality player, coach at bringing players up to a certain level. So.
And it's a bit of a transitional period for Leon Bailey coming back in on the right hand side. How did you find his performance?
I think he's trying exceptionally hard to get back to the form that he was at. I felt like he had a pretty good game, a few wayward passes in the first half, but he was going at his man 1v1 down the side throughout. He was very confident. I just feel like it's not quite coming off for him, but he definitely gave us a good outlet on the right. And he definitely wasn't shying away from receiving the ball and trying to make it happen. I just feel like he's missing that final piece, that final pass or the final shot that leads us to goal. He's just kind of not got it at the moment. But a quality player, just probably going to take some time to get him back to his best.
And you struggled a little bit. I mean, for 2 particular minutes in the first half as well against Ida, causing problems for you in the 36th and 38th minutes specifically. What happened during that match? Was it just a lapse of concentration? What went wrong?
Yeah, we took the lead so early that the game kind of just went into a lull, and we were the first 15 minutes we were 63% possession, so we were just dominating the game. And then slowly towards the 20th to 30th minute, we started to have a few lapses at the back, giving the ball away needlessly. From Konza gave one away, Camera gave one away, and then they were slowly edging into the game, and they just opened up space on the left through. It was Taylor. He was in acres of space and was able to cross it in. And McGinn, I mean, coming off the bench, slid in and it's gone perfectly into Ida's path, and he's unmarked between the two defenders. So that makes it 2-1. And we're kind of shell shocked, thinking, "Oh no, maybe we just got to keep it tight." And then we get outdone on the right side of the box, and I think it was Hatate found some space. They opened up a couple passes, and then Ida again finds himself between our two centre backs. Just with a tap in, but it was a pretty good finish high to Martinez's right hand. It went into the roof of the net. Yeah, I think we just lost a lot of momentum. We kind of probably underestimated Celtic. They moved the ball with some good intensity. The first 15 minutes, they were really poor, but they definitely grew into the game. They probably won the 25 minutes to 30 minutes after that first 15 minutes. But
Nathan,
we were inviting pressure with some poor passing, I've got to admit, from our defenders.
Nathan, if I could just ask you, because I'm looking at the stats from the first half here, and the expected goals of Celtic was 0.77.
Yeah.
And they managed to create 2 big chances and to score 2 goals out of that.
Yeah.
Like that indicates that those chances were they were not really clean cut, were they?
No, I've got to admit they kind of took me by surprise. Like a few of their players, especially Hatate McGregor was actually decent, and I was actually most interested about Nicholas Kuhn, who I've seen some of in the Scottish League, and he actually did okay in the first half. But yeah, they were getting touches in our box, and they were creating chances and opening up spaces, and we were getting away with it for large parts. But they eventually it was coming basically, especially their first goal. They were pushing towards our box, and we just couldn't get out. And yeah, I wouldn't be shocked to say that they didn't deserve their 2-2 at the half, because we were just giving it to them.
And now we'll move on to the off the pitch thing now. This has been a huge saga. Josh Vince is already getting excited at the prospect of me talking about Olly Watkins. Got a goal today. Yeah, we do have to, actually, because Arsenal fans have been crying out for a striker all season, and now they've put in a bid. It's been rejected, I will say.
Mm-hmm.
That's a player that Villa really can't afford to lose, is it, Nathan? I mean, especially this late in the January transfer window.
No, I mean, Watkins, I mean, with his form last season, he nearly hit the 20 goal mark, and it was just irreplaceable. I think he had 17 assists as well, but he just had an incredible season. That's what 38 goal contributions in one Premier League season. He's just a player, especially on the 29th of January, that you're not going to find a replacement. And we don't, without Duran, if he leaves also, we're leaving ourselves extremely light. We don't have a chance of going anywhere in the Champions League or the league. But I'm pretty shocked about the timing of their bid, like before a Champions League game. It's very abnormal. Maybe it's because
disrespectful, do you think?
Yeah, I think because we did the double over them last season, and
It's
because
almost
there's this
it's
added
almost
this new
as
rivalry.
disrespectful as sorry. I just want to say this quickly. It's almost as disrespectful as bidding 40 million and £1 for Luis Suarez.
Do you know what? I think
Nathan.
that's the phone. I think I have to go.
I'm not going to lie. With that one, it wasn't his release clause 40. So what actually is the big hoo-ha about it? They just paid his release clause.
I think Wenger just decided to pay.
They've overpaid his release clause. They've actually given you £1 extra. Go get a 99 as well.
I don't even know. All I remember is John Henry, the Liverpool chairman, just tweeting afterwards, "What are they smoking over there at the Emirates?" Imagine the chairman putting that.
Oh my god! Yeah, look, Wenger had his moments, all right. But anyway, we're focusing on Villa. Let's not talk about that anymore.
Well, we also. Sorry, Michal. I just want to take over and talk about John Duran as well, because he was on the bench. And it looks like he's already off to Saudi Arabia. You know, he's got a medical scheduled in London, and I think it was 77 million. Is that a worry for you, or do you think you can survive without him? Because he has had some ridiculously good performances earlier in the season.
I mean, I saw a bid as well, like a week ago from West Ham, which was like 57 million, which I think is just absolutely insulting. That can just be put to bed straight away. But I don't think we can cope without because Watkins has had spells of injury. So even with one of them, and you've got a Champions League schedule, we're still trying to fight for the top four in the Premier League. We're currently about 5 or 6 points off. And we know how it went last season with Newcastle, with the struggle to maintain Premier League form with the Champions League in their schedule. So having one and the other, and how good Duran has been off the bench, especially with all his goals and his contributions, it's just so unsettling. And with our injury crisis in defence now as well, this is just adding another spanner to what is a great squad. And I mean, Diego Carlos has just left. Pau Torres is injured. Mings has just got injured. We're putting Bogard into a back three because Cash is now injured. You know what I mean? So the injuries are mounting up. We've got two key assets, and I think these clubs probably need to pay way above the odds to get these players from us, because 60 million for Watkins, for me in this market, I don't think is anywhere near what they should be paying.
I mean,
what he does for the team in terms of his running, I mean, he was in the 88th minute, he was closing down still like a madman. So
Kai Havertz does that, and he was only worth 65 million. I do have a theory, Nathan. There's a lot of chatter about Evan Ferguson going out on loan. Do you reckon that might be an option? Getting him in on loan as a backup for Watkins?
I mean, it's a scenario which we'd take if Watkins was to go. But yeah, I mean, he's on the market. I've seen Leverkusen have put a bid in for him as well. So West Ham are looking for a striker as well. So he's going to have some suitors. But the thing what puts in the back of my mind, which is scaring me about Watkins, is I know he's an Arsenal fan. I know he actually supports them, so it's just he's always going to have that thing like I'm gonna be an Arsenal player, you know. So it's worrying. I got to admit.
Yeah. Right. So, coming back to what is basically the consequence of Aston Villa's win against Celtic. You are currently you finished the league phase on the 8th position, and you're gonna be facing the KO playoff winner of either Sporting Lisbon, Club Brugge, Atalanta, or Borussia Dortmund.
Ooh.
That is the pool of potential of potential opponents of Aston Villa. What are your chances there?
Well, we already know we've lost to Club Brugge earlier in. I mean, it was a I don't know whether anyone saw the goal in that game.
A
But it was
weird match.
crazy. all my friends are not big fans of Mings, but that's another podcast. Atlanta and Dortmund are very, very good European pedigree, especially at Atalanta. So that is not a game that you want to play. I know that they beat Liverpool last year in that demolishing, and then
won the Europa League as well.
Won the Europa League. Have a lot of good players, and they are going well in the Serie A. You'd probably want to get Sporting Lisbon after Amorim has gone and their form has kind of dipped, but yeah, I think we got a good chance, but we'll definitely be looking out for Sporting Lisbon maybe to take a win out of those, but definitely want to avoid Atalanta for sure.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, there is one more team that we're going to be talking about right now, which also finished in top 8 after this league phase of Champions League. And this team will be facing either the Feyenoord, Juventus, AC Milan, or PSV. And does anybody want to have a guess of what the team might be? Josh Vitz's reaction tells everything. It's Arsenal. Yes, exactly. Arsenal. This is the set of opponents that await you in the round of 16. But okay, round of 16 will happen. First, let's talk about your game. I can only rely on the stats here because I was like watching Man City game. So could you please tell us why Sterling missed that penalty?
Because he's Raheem Sterling. that's why. It's as simple as
Such
that.
A brutal question and answer.
Look, to be fair to him, in this game, he was playing off the left-hand side, and he actually looked relatively good's a strong word, but better. He looked much better than he has done in an Arsenal shirt.
Satisfactory.
Satisfactory is a great word, Louis.
There you go.
He was somewhat earning his paycheck. Like, I'd probably offer him about half of what he's earning for that performance as opposed to like a tenth, which is what he's been doing. But no, he was making some good runs into the box. He created the opportunity. Well, actually, no, he got a yellow card for simulation in the box because, again, Raheem Sterling. But the penalty was actually a well-hit penalty. It was right into the bottom right-hand corner, and it was a really good save from the Girona goalkeeper. It was a weird game, the Arsenal-Girona game. It was a very strange game. Yeah, lots of odd events. 2 penalties. They went ahead. We pulled it back. Ethan Nwaneri, the boy. A strange 90 minutes. I can say that much.
Yeah, let's talk about Raheem Sterling a little bit because, I'm looking at his stats from this game, and he had an expected goals of 0.84 without scoring a goal, 2 shots on target, 1 off target, and out of 6 dribbles, 3 of them were successful. So, what does that tell us about Sterling's performance? Looking purely at stats.
I mean, looking purely at stats, it seems like a relatively encouraging display from a forward player over... Because he didn't play the whole game. He was substituted for... he did play the whole game. It was Martinelli came on for Nwaneri. That was it. So he did play the whole 90 minutes. The thing is, the stats sound relatively impactful, and he was making good avenues down that left-hand side. But the problem, it's a little bit like... I can't remember who was saying it earlier about having a lack of finishing quality. He's got that at the moment. Nothing that he is attempting seems to be coming off, whether it be that final ball into the middle of the box, whether it be that shot on target, whether it be a penalty, which I think is where most of that 0.8 XG came from, to be honest with you. It was a good save for the penalty. He put it in a good position, but Jorginho's was just much better hit and much smoother. And Sterling... He's just a bit of a frustrating character at the moment. He's clearly not happy playing as little as he is. But there are players ahead of him. Nwaneri starts ahead of him on the right-hand side. I'd say Martinelli or Trossard, and I can't stand Trossard, but Martinelli or Trossard starting him ahead of him on the left-hand side. So he's going to have a tricky second half of the season, I think.
Gotcha. I'm just purely looking at the stats because this is the only thing that I can do since I haven't watched the game.
That's fine.
I can see that Viktor Tsigankov, like the Ukrainian right wing of Girona, like he's usually a pretty big threat.
He was.
I would. Yeah, and actually, well, you say that he was during the game, but then again, I look at Calafiori's rating of 7.3. And I just imagine that Tsigankov was completely contained by Calafiori, was he not?
Calafiori's been a bit of a revelation. When he can stay fit, and it's a pretty big when, but when he can stay fit, he's been an absolute beast. I mean, he scored goal of the season against Manchester City.
Hey,
sorry, Nathan. Ignoring John Duran's Uber strike, but no, yeah, he's been brilliant for us, and he played. I think it was like the first 70 minutes of the game. He's only really just come back from injury again as well. He's been a big loss while he's been out, but the revelation of Miles Lewis-Skelly at left back has been phenomenal. Like the youngster and they're both kind of vying for that left back position now. To be honest, the winger that you mentioned earlier, he got most joy when it was a switch to MLS in the 70th, 71st or something like that minute. Calafiori came off. He was replaced by Miles Lewis-Skelly, who wasn't bad, who had a really good defensive display, but he got more luck against Miles Lewis-Skelly than he did against Calafiori. And Calafiori is a good forward threat. He actually had a goal ruled off for offside in the first 5 minutes, Calafiori. He broke through the lines. Brilliant first-time left-footed finish. Not dissimilar to his half-volley finish for us against Wolves at the weekend. And, he's just a cracking player. We love him. We love a bit of Ricardo.
So, since now Calafiori has really gotten so comfortable in that left back position, I just take a look at the subs list, and I can just see that sad name of Alexander Zinchenko.
Ollie.
What to do with him? Because I can see that, like, previously Jakub Kiwior, by the way, Poland international. He was moved to actually his nominate position that he feels most comfortable in, which is the centre back, because he's a typical defender.
Yeah.
There was some attempts to put him as left back, and that kind of worked when Zinchenko was injured in last season. But now he's just back to his normal natural position. Does that mean that Mikel Arteta has completely given up on the Ukrainian?
It's a weird one. I mean, we've got 4 left backs at the moment. We've got Kieran Tierney, Alexander Zinchenko, Miles Lewis-Skelly. Well, Miles Lewis-Skelly is more of a midfield, but he's playing left back, and Ricardo Calafiori. Zinchenko is a brilliant utility player, and that's what Arteta likes. He likes those utility players who can come in and fiddle around. And Kiwior did well last season when he was put at left back. He played for about 5 or 6 games there when Zinni was injured, and he did all right. I was actually relatively impressed by him. He's struggled a little bit at centre back this season, but I think it's because he's not playing enough games, to be honest, to get a proper good groove going. In terms of Zinchenko, do you know what? It's interesting. Me and Jules did a crossover earlier today, and I think I said to him, I think Zinchenko and possibly Gabriel Jesus are kind of surplus to requirements now at Arsenal. I think they were the first purchases to push us to that next level. And now, in both positions, we need to go another level higher if we actually want to be genuinely contending for the Premier League and the Champions League, which, oddly, I have a good feeling about the Champions League.
That's I'm not going to comment on that one.
That is the most brutal way of putting it down.
It reminds me of this meme from Clarkson of basically reacting on like some news about some Romanian car, and him reacting like, "Oh no!" Anyway,
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah,
that was brutal. Okay, let's just go back to the potential opponents of yours again, because I did brush it off. I did put at the beginning as some sort of like a guess for you, as some sort of like a riddle or a puzzle. But okay, let's just look at it. Feyenoord, Juventus, Milan, PSV.
Right. Yeah. There's 3 pretty nasty teams. And to be fair, Feyenoord aren't pushovers either. This is the thing. It's going to be the last 16 of the Champions League. No one's going to be easy. You're going to have to beat everybody. There'll be slightly easier fixtures. I don't want to play Milan. I'm bored of playing Italian teams. And yeah, I'd say Feyenoord would be the ultimate choice out of that selection. Juve, I mean, they can't really win games anyway. They've drawn sort of like 15 games in Serie A this season. But they only just lost their first one in Serie A to Napoli at the weekend. I'd probably take Juve or who was the first one again? I've completely forgotten. Feyenoord, thank you. I'd take those 2. The other, PSV are an annoying team. I mean, as Louis found out this evening, like PSV are an annoying team.
We're about to get to that.
Exactly. So I definitely want to take one of those 2. But, it's definitely a way forward to the last 8. And then naturally just finishing in the final and winning the final for Arsenal's
Naturally,
first
yes.
ever European
Yeah.
title.
Naturally.
So Arsenal finished third in that Champions League phase, and of course, like we just mentioned, PSV, one of the potential opponents of Arsenal in the last 16. Let's just turn all the things to Louis now, because he knows best what it's like to play against PSV.
Yeah.
And that's a smooth transition
Very
to
smooth,
PSV Liverpool.
yes. Well, we lost 3-2, and I think our second half was so poor. I mean, understandably so, because we were playing a lot of our academy players. You know, poor Amaranello coming on and then a few minutes later getting himself sent off. I mean, that's not the way to make your senior debut for Liverpool. And we've heard about him for years. I think Quansah had a pretty awful match at centre-back. We have really got a lack of depth in centre-back position at the moment. It just feels like if Van Dijk was to get injured, that could completely derail our season, just like it did during COVID times. But, I mean, there were some positives to take out of today. Federico Chiesa just looked absolutely fantastic. He started on the right, and he had a good go there. He got the assist for Elliott's goal, which arguably was a shot, which rebounded off the goalkeeper's hands into Elliott's path for a tap-in. But when he moved on to the left, he looked so positive. You know, he was doing his step-overs. It was like seeing him for Italy during the Euros years ago now, again. Endo as well, showing a good outing as well. Defensive midfield and centre-back. I still think he actually looks better in centre-back, weirdly, when he is a defensive midfielder. I mean, he has been terrific for us there. Kostas Tsimikas, he just had a bit of a poor one today as well. He had very little luck down the left-hand side, trying to find a way through for a breakthrough down that way. But, you know, he's a bit of a flashes player, and, you know, he's not someone that you can rely on week in, week out, I think. I think he's good backup, and, you know, one of our centre-backs today, weirdly, Andy Robertson, does look like he is probably the better player at left-back, and he came off today 64 minutes in, so it looks like he'll probably be starting on the weekend against Bournemouth as well. So a frustrating one, but, you know, I didn't think Liverpool would win straight away when I looked at that lineup. And it's good that we finished top as well. You know, very pleased for Atalanta helping us out in that respect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a bummer Lewandowski didn't score there, but, well, you can't have it all.
Still top scorer.
Yeah. Joint with one of the Borussia Dortmund players.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. You know what? I'm looking at that list of missing players, and wow, Joe Gomez, Diogo Jota, Curtis Jones, Alisson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk, Ibrahima Konate, Ryan Gravenberch, Alexis McAllister, Mohamed Salah, Luis Diaz, Dominic Szoboszlai. To be honest, I am not surprised that you lost there. Yeah, because like you said, you just put children there for the starting lineup for Champions League.
Yeah. It's just annoying, though, because we were 2-1 up, and then they scored right on the brink of half-time and then scored again in the second half. And, you know, it was quite a hopeless performance. And also, if you look at our bench in that game, only 21 appearances on that bench. Tyler Morton, 13 of them. We were always set out to not really care about this match. And I mean, I care as a fan. You know, when I watch my team lose, it's really frustrating. And, you know, being a Liverpool fan, it's weird seeing that this season. But it is what it is. You know, we put out our youngsters and they gave it a good go at quite a hostile, rainy Eindhoven. And it just didn't work out. But there we go. It was good to see Kelleher get some more minutes as well. He does really look like an incredible goalkeeper. And I think he will leave at the end of the season. It will be interesting to see where he goes.
Questionably comfortable comeback to his own fatherland for Arne Slot there, unfortunately. But let's just look at okay, maybe we should just forget about this game. Just like you said, look, you just basically put up children there. So come on, let's forget about it. Let's move on.
Thank you very much.
Can I just ask a very, very quick question? Sorry,
yeah, there
Mikhail.
you go.
Just one last quick question for Louis. Alisson, do you reckon he's going to stay for much longer? And if so, would you want to keep Kelleher as his replacement?
Well, the thing is, we are already getting in Mamardashvili.
Of course you are.
In the summer. So I think he'll be the second choice. And once Alisson gets a bit older, he'll just make the natural transition to number one. Mm-hmm. You know, we've already got good backup as well with Vitislav Jarosz, who made a good cameo earlier this season. I can't remember who it was against. I remember missing that match, but watching back the highlights and seeing him make a good one-on-one save. And he's already the number 3 goalkeeper for the Czech Republic, or Czechia as they're now called. So, you know, I'm not too worried about the goalkeeper position. I just wish the absolute best for Kelleher, because I think he will be the one to leave.
Quite harsh on him, really, isn't it? Getting Mamardashvili in.
Yeah, it did feel like a weird one at the time, because we already have 2, dare I say, world-class goalkeepers in that position. And then to get another one in just a year in advance. It's a good thing Kelleher has been able to get some matches under his belt. And my issue with Alisson is he's always injured. And for a goalkeeper to be always injured, that's a worry. And he is getting on a bit, so I think his days are going to be numbered from the end of next season, I think. And then Mamardashvili will start getting some appearances.
I heard some rumors
that
Kelleher was linked with Chelsea. I don't know whether that's true.
They had Petrovic out on loan as well. And Kepa out on loan.
So I don't know how true that is.
Yeah,
could see him at West Ham.
They're playing the worst one.
Yeah, they play the worst one,
yeah.
He'll find a team very easily. Very easily.
Absolutely.
And a lot of money as well. It'd be worth a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, Louis, just to go back to the final stands here at for this league phase of Champions League, 7 victories, 1 loss, goal difference plus 12, 17 goals scored, 5 conceded. If somebody told you at the beginning of this season that you would top the league phase with only 1 loss and 5 goals conceded, would you take it as for granted, or would you just
never take that for granted, especially considering the fact that we played Real Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen in the midst of a fixture congestion, and really looking good against Leverkusen especially. I mean, it has been a weird season in the Champions League, getting used to this new format, which, by the way, I still don't really like, but that's another conversation. Come on, it's a bit okay. We'll get to that.
We'll get to it. We'll get to that. Yeah.
But 7 wins. I remember when, 2 seasons ago, when we were last in the Champions League, and we won 6 from 6 in the group stage. Everyone was absolutely freaking out. We've done one better. It's just frustrating that we couldn't get across the line against PSV, but I'm not being spoilt in that case. I was being spoilt earlier in the Liverpool group chat, not now. I've had some time to breathe, and I'm absolutely pleased as punch for Liverpool, and let's do our very best just to do the same in the knockout stage, get all those wins again.
And the opportunity to get those wins against either Monaco, Brest, PSG, or Benfica. That's a nice setup.
I must say, I do not fancy Benfica at the moment. They look really good. I mean, what they did to Atletico was brutal. Absolutely brutal. I hated watching that back because Martin Tyler was on commentary and he was talking monotone the entire time, like he always does. But especially when Liverpool were playing. But it's a scary thought getting Benfica, and I think that they will probably be the one out of those teams. I mean, PSG, they have their moments and they're still good on paper, like Jules knows all about. But, I mean, it's probably going to be Benfica, and that will be a real challenge for Liverpool. But if there's anyone that can do it, it's us.
Well, fingers crossed for all of the English teams. Okay, so just like that, we've covered all of the important games for our team here at GSPN, all of the teams of English representatives at the Champions League. Now we'll do a short break, and then we're going to be talking about the format.
This podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network. Every club, every day.
Exactly so. I did a little bit of a lip sync there.
Yes, thanks for mocking me, Michal.
I do not. Oh, come on! I've heard that so many times now. Oh, come on! That just went out automatically. Okay, so just to set the scene of what we're going to be. Is everything okay? Oh my god. Yeah. Oh, good. Sorry. We had some technical difficulties before. I just wanted to make sure. Sorry, guys. Back to it. So let's set the scene for our discussion. Season 2024-2025. In 144 matches, 470 goals. Wow. So that is basically...
Jesus,
wow, that's
really?
ridiculous. Which makes 3.26 goals per match. 49 penalties, a lot of yellow cards, a lot of second yellows, red, whatever. And attendance for those games, 29 times where there was a Champions League game sold out in this season during this league phase. Rounding total of 5,537,541 viewers, which is the average of about 38,500 spectators watching a Champions League game during every single match.
That's
so
crazy.
This is
crazy.
That's set the scene for our discussion. So money is there, definitely. More revenue for the clubs, more revenue for UEFA. Let's be honest.
Which is what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But is it an addition for the game? And let's start the discussion.
No, I'm not a fan of it. I'll just say that right now. And the reason I'm not a fan of it is just because I think if you're going to be competing in the same table as other teams, you have to play them home and away. And for some teams to only have big matches at home or big matches away against like European giants, for example, I don't really see the point of... I mean, let's also take into account it's a 36-team table and they're only playing 8 times. I mean... what was wrong with the old format when it was group stage, play each other twice, and then straight into the knockouts? That makes more sense to me. And also more fixtures, and then you've got these playoffs, which just adds more confusion. Why is this a positive change? I don't get it. Sorry, Josh, you have something on the tip of your tongue there.
I'm so I couldn't disagree more. I agree that it is extra money for UEFA. That's all it is about. And it is extra games. And there's too many games being played at the moment. I think all of us, regardless of the clubs that we support, will agree that there is too many games being played at the moment. And there needs to be a cut down in some respects. However, I think that the jeopardy that this new league has introduced, I think the opportunity it's given to slightly smaller clubs as well to give themselves a real boost in Europe. Because, admittedly, in the top 8, you kind of had eventually what you vaguely expected. But, I mean, for example, I would not have put Aston Villa in the last 16 if it was a group stage. With all respect, Nathan, I wouldn't have put through group stages and then through the last 32 and things like that.
I agree. We wouldn't have beat Bayern Munich away, in my opinion, and we beat them at home, for example. So,
and it can give a slight...
Isn't that an ultimate test of how good a team is, though? Which is, again, what it's going to boil down to. And also, if you want more matches, just make the groups a bit bigger or add more groups, which is what they are doing at the World Cup next. So that's my problem with it.
I just feel that the groups have stagnated a bit.
Yeah.
Go on, George. Sorry.
I agree, and everyone complained about the World Cup the new format there with the extra teams playing. The jeopardy at the end is the driving feature of this new format, 100%. Yeah. However, there actually wasn't much jeopardy if you came down to the last whistle. Pretty much everything was decided. But in theory, I do agree that it is exciting on the last day, although none of us seen what the other results were coming into this. So I don't know how much we can stay on top of it all during, unless we want to watch the goal show, and I don't. But but yeah, it's all about money for UEFA. That is the only thing that has caused this to happen. None of the clubs want this because, yes,
and
it
the
might
players
be
especially.
Exactly. The money, the revenue gained from 2 extra games for the teams already in the Champions League, or at least the majority of them, is inconsequential. What is consequential is all the extra injuries and the condition of the players from the mountain fixture lists that UEFA and well, just any footballing governing bodies are putting in place for the players at the moment. Classic City fan to complain about a bunch of injuries and fixture list. Yes, I appreciate that. But I think it's the same for a lot of teams. So yeah, there's pros and cons. I think it's been okay this season. We need a really good Jeopardy last day though, because that will kick everything on. They felt like the build up to this day did have that, but then I think as the games actually boiled out, that didn't really happen. But anything that just makes you wait for more money for the sake of it, I am normally against. But I agree with Josh in the way that the groups did feel a little bit stagnated. They hadn't always been that way either. Before, I think it was 2001, there was 2 group stages, and before that, it was automatically knockouts. So they've always experimented with the format, and if it doesn't work, I think they'll probably switch it to something else.
Yeah, but let's just recall why we are in this position with switching all of the formats. Let's not forget about what happened just a couple of years ago when Florentino Perez decided to stage a Super League with all of the giants of European football without a system of promotions and relegations. So I kind of understand UEFA that they wanted to maintain the integrity. Okay, I would also be the first one to fire at all of those romantics in football, which claim that UEFA stood up for the beauty of the game. They're not standing up for beauty for the game.
I haven't heard anyone say that. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, but then again, like people would actually stand in defense of UEFA for defending the old ways. But what they didn't understand is UEFA was just as bad as Florentino Perez. Those guys are worth one another, and the difference is just that they're just after different financial interests.
If they've got association in the name, if anything in football is association in the name, don't trust them, because they are out for themselves and they are out for money, and they are not out for the growth of the game, or at least not in a pure way.
Jules, I think you make a really good point about how many injuries and how many games have been added. And it's actually making the product of football lesser to watch and less entertaining because players aren't
absolutely.
Yeah, we aren't able to see teams at their strongest. You might play a team when you really need to win, but you've played that many games. And for example, Rodri's injured. He's the Ballon d'Or winner, for example. But also with me, it's the trickle-on effect of all these games. I mean, I add in the Nations League as well. About like the FA Cup, for example, with the teams don't have replays anymore because the higher teams get benefited, and it has a trickle-on effect as well. But for the product
and this
of
new
football
Club World
itself,
Cup thing as well,
there's no beauty of seeing the product of football the way it is with so many games and so lesser players through injuries. That's my opinion.
I think also as well, let's not forget, it's not even that long ago, and I think he's still at it. Arsene Wenger trying to make the World Cup every 2 years. The whole enjoyment of that is the fact that you have to wait for longer, and you have it more to look forward to. And if there's Champions League played every week or almost every week, it kind of loses the spectacle, as you were saying, Nathan.
We've never sat here in the end of January and seen a game. For one, it's usually done before Christmas. Is that right?
Yeah.
So there's 2 extra games in January, which is like the schedule already around Christmas time is crazy anyway for English teams. So
because there's no winter break.
Sort of a break for English teams is just never going to happen anymore.
Yeah, but you know what? Let me just play the other side a little bit, because I'm looking at it from, like someone could say selfish perspective, but I'm sorry, I'm a Pole, so of course I'm going to be looking from that perspective. I'm looking at 2 teams from Conference League. Legia Warszawa, Jagiellonia Białystok. Those 2 teams, like Polish football was on the brink of introducing 2 Polish teams in the top 8 of Conference League. So that was super beneficial for us because of the successes of, for example, Lech Poznań from Conference League campaign in 2021, where they got to 2021, was it? Yeah, it was that campaign when Lech Poznan got to quarterfinal against Fiorentina. Okay, it doesn't matter. What matters is that now, like all of those accolades from European football, especially from the ranking, they were of benefit to our clubs. And as a result, Legia Warsaw is right now in the top 8, and Jagiellonia Białystok, they were super close to reaching the top 8. They were better seeded. And I think that right now there's a decent chance for both Jagiellonia and Legia to actually fare very, very well in the Conference League. And I think that wouldn't have been possible had it not been for the change of the format.
So you think it gives more opportunities to smaller teams?
Yeah, of course. Because, when you need to face either the teams of the profile of Aston Villa, which happened in Conference League campaign, I believe it was a season ago.
Yeah,
I think it was a season ago. Aston Villa and Legia Warsaw. And Backa Topola, with all due respect to that Serbian team, we have a far better chance of faring better with those teams as opposed to competing with Aston Villa in Europa League.
How does the format impact that though?
It's just that basically maybe it's not the format, but it's more of the seeding. Maybe let's talk about this because. Mm-hmm.
I actually kind of agree with you because I totally get all of the arguments against it. And I do agree with the congested format issue is a big problem. Like Nathan mentioned with injuries, like we've mentioned with the quality of football diminishing because there's being too much play. However, you make a really good point. Jules said earlier that the amount of money from these extra games is inconsequential. Yeah, it's inconsequential to our Premier League teams.
Yeah,
when you look at 2 extra games for young boys, Slovan, Girona, Sparta Prague, and then in this case as well with Warsaw and things like that, it is all about money. There's no denying that. FIFA, UEFA, all corrupt. I mean, Christ, just look at Qatar and Saudi Arabia situation that's going on there with the World Cups and things like that. It's a mess in that sense. But there are some benefits and there's a slight trickle down. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to go to National League or grassroots or anything like that, but there is a slight trickle down which will help the smaller teams.
But is the Champions League meant to be about young boys, or is it meant to be about Bayern Munich and
that
and
is
Liverpool?
Brutal, but it's very true. I'm also
the Conference League exists for the reason of those teams, right?
But also with the Champions League, you don't need a massive league table to incorporate smaller teams. You can just make more groups like they did with the World Cup. And I understand the argument against the World Cup format, like too many matches, so on and so forth. But also representation of these teams is very important in our sport. And there are ways that they can do that without congesting all of these fixtures for the bigger clubs. They just don't see it. They don't want to do anything other than a big Super League because they're so arrogant about it.
But if the smaller teams were just added to the normal groups, then they'd get battered every week, right? Where this time, the fixtures is all completely randomized. So that's why
they get money from the Champions League anyway.
No, but it's about success as well, right? Josh is saying that there's smaller teams with a chance of progression. This opportunity is a lot larger with a big league table, I think, than it would be if you stuck Lech Poznan in last year's group of death with Newcastle, Dortmund, and Milan and stuff.
Lille and Aston Villa wouldn't have got through, I don't think, to where they got to. But they've had a run of games where they had that opportunity. But again, it's random games
in the Champions League in the old format as well before, though.
Yeah. I think it's more likely this way, though.
Yeah,
I guess it's more likely, but it just doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't the negatives outweigh the positives.
Home and away, it is really important. I think they should be given a chance to play home and away just for fairness of ground, like how important it is to play at your home ground.
And also these teams are going to go out eventually anyway.
No, young boys are going to win it.
Yeah, 100%.
But then again, guys, but we cannot forget about that another factor which drove the change of the format, and that is how to prevent television having to showcase a game between Dinamo Zagreb and Karabakh in the final match day with an old format. That's an argument because nobody want to watch it apart from people from Azerbaijan and Croatia. But would you really want to spend your an hour and a half to watch Dinamo Zagreb taking on Karabakh? I don't think so.
But I never really have, because there's always other games on, isn't there? I don't think, I'm not sure if that's any different with this way, but I suppose what you're saying is it gives those teams more opportunities to be in more important games, which makes it more watchable.
Yeah,
of course.
But yeah, I'm not sure where I land ultimately, but I do see the positives and the negatives. Like, I agree with a lot of what you're saying, Louis, but change doesn't have to be scary either. It might be good or it might be terrible, but I think it's worth a chance either way.
Ultimately, it's been a half-assed Super League that's been somewhat entertaining and a little bit different, and it's given some opportunities to other teams. There are definitely a lot of negatives. I see some positives, exactly like what Jules said. So I don't think we're going to really be able to take stock of it until maybe the end of the season, or even maybe the end of next season, to see how it goes then and see how the land lies. Because let's be honest, the craziness of sort of like, Lille doing incredibly well, something like that will probably get figured out next season, So who knows?
We do see Lille's go through to the knockouts pretty much every year, though. I'm not saying Lille specifically, but there's a team like Lille that make it through every year, isn't there?
Even the Liverpool game tonight, if, for example, PSV needed a win and they've rested all of their players, does that affect the integrity of the game? Because it affects other people's positions. Because they've had that many wins, Liverpool, that they're granted to play whoever they want. They've had 7 wins, but it affects other people. Could complain at Liverpool saying,
we had to fight to get to that position anyway.
Yeah, I agree with that standpoint for Liverpool, but Liverpool have every right to play whoever they want. But at the end of the day, the other team could be like, well, you're not. You should play your best team and win because we need it.
I think that's always existed in football, hasn't it?
Yeah, in the Premier League as well. If someone's won the title with matches to go, they'll play some of their backup goalkeepers and so on and so forth.
Man United got charged with it. Man United got charged with it a few years ago. They fielded in a completely changed team against Wolves, and apparently it was unprecedented, and they got charged. But I don't think they actually lost the case.
That's stupid.
Remember Blackpool back in the day with Ian Holloway? And I think they rested every single player, and Holloway was not happy when they got charged.
Blackpool had 22 players when they were in the Prem. That surprises me.
I vaguely remember Liverpool playing hungover after they won the league and sort of playing. Liverpool players looked rough as hell after that COVID win.
Well, it was Villa, wasn't it? Didn't Villa batter them after they just won the league?
Yeah.
Well, guys, we could lead this discussion over and over. Actually, I think it wouldn't be such a bad idea if we got just a single episode only devoted to such discussions, because I think that there's really some potential in it. So, for example, VAR discussion or discussion about the formats or any other controversies, because when there's a controversy, there are millions of opinions. And but for now, we have to wrap it up. Let's just wrap it up with a very short preview of what's to come in games involving Tottenham and Manchester United. Tottenham facing the Elfsborg side from Sweden. Well, I think that Tottenham should have problems, or maybe they should, after the last display against Leicester. What do you guys think?
They're screwed. No chance.
Lucas Bergvall is going to get overwhelmed by having to go back to Sweden, and the whole team is going to capitulate.
Apologies in advance to Tottenham and Man United fans for a mockery which is about to happen here. Well, this is it, unfortunately. So, but seriously, I think that Tottenham, come on, they shouldn't be so, pardon my language, screwed up. Mm-hmm. So to lose against the Swedish side, who sit currently 20th in the Europa League standings.
And get sacked if they lose. They're through. Aren't they?
No, I think the thing is with Spurs, they're quite reliant on the Europa League and the League Cup, since they're already winning against us in the semi-finals. So I think the ultimate test for Ange are those two competitions, and I think if they win winning the Europa League, I think, is the only way they're going to get into Europe, unless they win the FA Cup. So it will be a big game for Spurs, and plus they're only 1 point off the playoffs anyway, so they'll definitely put out a strong side for this one.
I mean, they're 8 points off relegation.
They cannot let that game go in Europe, that's for sure, because their spot at top 8 isn't guaranteed yet. And the same could be said about Manchester United taking over Steaua Bucuresti, or FCSB, as their name has been for a while now. Here, well, Man United has got their own problems. I mean, like, we've all seen that game, or if you haven't seen that game, then I guess lucky for you. I had to watch that game against Fulham, and wow, was that just... it was just horrible to watch. But you know what? If that's what it takes for Man United now to get some points and get some victories going, then I guess I just have to be...
You've been so easy to play against for so long. I think something like this was necessary, to be honest, wasn't it?
I mean, being a Man United fan for almost over a decade now has been just nothing but suffering. With some,
picked a hell of a time to support
them.
them.
Word.
Yeah.
Whoa!
I've been supporting them since 2009. Oh my God!
That makes Louis so happy. I can already feel
2009.
2009. No, that was still during Fergie times.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Well, serves you right for being a glory hunter at the time.
Well, we all...
It's because they got to 2 Champions League finals. You decide, this is the team that I want to support. Always winning. Serves you right.
No.
Never seen them win.
No, do you know how this story unfolded? This story unfolded that I was given like my very first FIFA game, FIFA 09. And when I clicked to instant match, Man United appeared as the very first option.
Rooney,
and then I just started playing with them. It was pretty good, Berbatov, Rooney. I believe it was still was it Carlos Tevez? Yes, it was still Carlos Tevez, Van der Sar, and all those other players. And I was like, okay, they're winning. Let me just take a look at how they're doing in real life. And that season, 2009-2010, they came close to winning the trophy, but they just came up short in that season. But it was like, okay, hey, I want to support them. So that's how it started. And I think I still did a good decision. Anyway, exactly. I think they should go through FCSB. If not, there's going to be hell to pay. We'll see how that goes. Right, Louis?
I'd expect
well, I wish you the absolute worst in that one. I'm going to be honest.
Whatever.
At least we know you're a true fan. That's that.
Exactly.
You haven't switched allegiances based on some bad performances. I had to put up with years with Liverpool having an awful time. In the early 2010s. I mean, God, that when we went broke with Hicks and Gillette in charge, that was a rough time. When we had to sell Alonso and Mascherano, when we did the double over Man United and still didn't win the league.
In the nicest way possible. I don't think any of us can talk when Nathan's in the room and Villa have been relegated recently.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's true fandom.
You're here on the call now with us.
I went to games when we was in the Championship and it was brutal. It was horrible.
Championship
we were like losing to like Brentford.
It's purgatory.
It was horrible.
I think purgatory would be the best word to describe it for any Premier League potential team, I think. Yeah.
Just get that jab in on Villa, it's all right.
That's how the owners see it, though, isn't it? Like, relegation is just catastrophic. Like, they don't want to be involved in a team like that. Your owners took over while you were in the Championship, though, didn't they, Nathan?
Yeah.
The ones you got now.
We had Randy Lerner, who was horrible. That he just sold us off when Martin O'Neill left. And then we had Tony Gia, who got embroiled in some kind of controversy of like finances. And luckily we had our ownership now who saved us just before we were going to get done for financial regulations and whatnot.
I don't mean to interrupt, Nathan, but we are still recording, so we do need to we do need to wrap this up.
We have to wrap this up.
All night.
Yeah. Oh, well, this has been the special episode of the Champions League review on here at the Daily English Premier League podcast here at GSPN. Well, thanks to you very much, Louis, for co-hosting with me. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you very much. Well, I feel like you did the vast majority of it, but I'm happy to have the credit.
Cheers. So, Louis of Liverpool, Josh Vince of Arsenal, Jules of Manchester City, and Nathan of Aston Villa. Thank you guys so much for joining. And, I can't wait to hear your reactions to the draw, which will happen on Friday.
It's going to be good.
It's going to be super, super good. And we will tune into this. But for now, thank you so much. Michał Czarniecki of Man United, not switching my allegiances. Do usłyszenia, do zobaczenia.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.